חבל של משניות.
Good evening, Rabbi. We're going to do Pirkeh Avot Chap because it's Sfirat Omer, so it's the proper thing to do. The word Pirkeh Avot, ethics of the fathers. So let's talk a little bit about what it says in Pirkeh Avot regarding staying away from a bad neighbor. So it says, "Achek mishachen ra," Mishna Zayin, in the first paragraph. What does that mean? Stay away from a bad neighbor. If you have somebody who's a neighbor, who's a bad person, he's a sinner, rasha, so the proper thing to do is to stay away from him. Why is that? Because he's going to influence you badly. Right? So don't think, he's my neighbor, I have no choice, so I'll be his friend. You have a choice. You have a choice. You can be not his friend. Just have a cordial, say hello to him on the elevator. You know what I mean? Or when you're parking in your driveway, say hello. But you don't have to be his friend. There's no obligation. Who obligated you to be his friend? You know what I mean? If he's a bad person, stay away from him. Because what happens is that when you go to bad people, they influence you badly, as we said, and he can get you in trouble also. You know what I mean? He'll offer you some bad thing, which is not good for you. He'll offer you some deal which is not good. You know why? Because he's a selfish person. If he's a bad person, he's very selfish inside. He's very self-centered. He doesn't care about his friend. He cares only about himself. And sometimes even about himself he doesn't care. He's so crazy. You know what I mean? There are people like this also. So people like this, you want to stay away from them. That's what you got to do. Because he'll offer you some bad advice and get you in trouble. Next thing you know, you may wind up in jail. May wind up in a bad place. In a hospital, God knows what, right? So that's why it's dangerous to be with people like that also. What they say, right? That in the Talmud, it says in the Gemara, that a person should not be melaveh, am aretz. What does that mean? You shouldn't go with am aretz, somebody who's a rasha, somebody who's ignorant in Torah, somebody who doesn't keep Torah. Don't go with him on a trip. Why is that? Because being together with him is dangerous. He may get into trouble. He doesn't have proper behavior, he doesn't properly weigh things and think things through. So you go travel with a person like that, you're asking for trouble. That's what it says. Same thing. Don't travel with them. Also, by the way, there's another thing, which is that these people are dangerous as well. You know what I mean? What does that mean? That they could also harm you. They could kill you or something. You never know. You never know. When a person is rasha, baduri, some kind of punk, dangerous person, he may injure you himself. He doesn't need somebody else to do it. He'll do it himself. If you anger him, if you get on the wrong side, he may wind up harming you. This is the reason why. They say stay away from a person like that. Don't travel with him, and don't become friends with him, and don't go together with him, and have meals and outings, and all kinds of things. Stay away from the guy. He's bad news. The person is bad news. So I ask you a question, by the way, if that's the case, But the truth is that Ma'an, Rabbi, he used to tell us all the time that a person should try to be mekarev his neighbors, who are not religious. You know what I mean? Bring them close. Invite them for Shabbat. Invite them for all kinds of things. Invite them to come to synagogue, to come to learn Torah. So what does that mean? It seems to contradict what we're saying, right? That a person should try to be mekarev. People like this. Try to bring them close to Hashem. So then why does it say to stay away from Rasha? If you're going to stay away from him, how are you going to mekarev him? How are you going to do both? You can't do both. How are you going to bring him close to Hashem if you stay away from him? This is the question, So what's the answer? Depends on what? Depends on what kind of rasha he is, what kind of amaretz he is, There's amaretz, like, big time, heavy duty amaretz, Somebody who's really amaretz, bad person, sinner, a very dangerous person. So a person like this, don't try to bring him to Teshuvah. You know why? Because he's too much of a load, too much of a burden on you. He may harm you. You know, it's a dangerous person. You know, a person like that, don't mess with him. Don't deal with him. You know, he's too far gone. It's asulia. That's asulia. You know, a person like this, you know what I mean, who's dangerous, criminal. You don't want to deal with a person like that. Don't try to bring him to do teshuvah. He may come to your house, you know, and break something over your head, you know, and break your doors down, you know, and leave. You know, God knows what, right? He may report you to the police. He may report you to the IRS. He may do something. He may squeal on you, you know, do something like that, right? He may inform on you. You never know what he's going to do, this person. This person is dangerous like this. But so what are we talking about? In the car of the Jews? In the car of somebody who's, you know, not that far gone. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he's not keeping Shabbat, he's not keeping Kashrut, he's not keeping mitzvot so much, but he's not a bad person, you know, just somebody who's ignorant, you know, so he's still nice, he's still friendly, he's still a nice person, so you can deal with him, you know, afshar, you know, you can deal with the guy like that. You can do something with him. It's possible to get something out of him. That's good, you know, so a person like that, invite him over, bring him to Shabbat, bring him to mitzvot, bring him to Torah, that's good. But a person who's so far gone, you don't want to deal with a person like that. You know what I mean? Too far. He's gone already. Right? So you have to make a judgment like that. Judgment call. You know? This is exactly what they say, by the way, about Abraham Avinu, you know, the Chazal. They say that Abraham Avinu was trying to mekarev who? Who was in the family that they were trying to mekarev? Lot, right? Lot was, you know, he was a bad boy, you know, Lot. You know, he was a bad boy. He was not a good boy. He was one of those people, you know, very, 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 very suspicious people, you know, very, very iffy, very cheesy, very person like this, you know, not somebody who you want to have, you want to trust somebody like that. So Abraham Avinu was trying to mekarev him all the time, bring him close, you know. So they were going together. He was going together with him. You know, he said, "You're my nephew. Let's go together." You know, trying to bring him close to Hashem, and he succeeded somewhat. You know, somewhat he succeeded to bring him close. Why? Because he got him to do some of the mitzvot. He got him used to doing chesed, you know, things like this. Lot started to do chesed because of Avraham Avinu. He started to do mitzvot. Keeping this mitzvah, keeping that mitzvah, doing chesed, doing kindness. So he learned something from Avraham Avinu. So then, what happened, right? In the end, you know, Avraham Avinu told him, you know, right, let's separate now. You know, nipared, he says, let's separate. You go this way, I go that way. You go that way, I go this way. I don't want to be with you anymore. That's what he told them, you know. So what happened all of a sudden? He was trying to make mekarev Lot, you know, in the beginning, and then all of a sudden Avraham Avinu said, listen, you know, enough is enough, you know. You go your way, I go my way, I'm sorry, but we're done with that. So what happened? Why did Avraham Avinu all of a sudden give up on Lot?
He's going to a bad place.
So you know what the answer is? The answer is that he saw that Lot was going too far, you know. You know, he went too far away from Hashem. Once Avraham Avinu saw that, he said, oh, I can't help you anymore, I'm sorry, but you know, that's it. You're too far gone. How did he know, by the way, that he was too far gone? How did he was able to see that? Right, they were stealing, you know, but you know that wasn't the worst thing, you know. There was also some other thing, you know, which was that Lot said. It says in the Chazal, Lot said, you know, he says, I don't want him, I don't want his religion, I don't want his God, I don't want nothing. He said, you know, Lot, this is what he said. You know, I'm not interested anymore to be with him. What does that mean? He started to be already like a kofar, you know, somebody who's a denier, you know, somebody who denies Hashem, denies Torah. So once Avraham Avinu saw that he was going that far away from Hashem, it's already, I can't help you anymore. I'm sorry, my friend. You know, you've gone too far. You know, got to get rid of you now. Let's go. You know, go your own way. That's it. Same thing. You know, this is exactly what happened also with Ishmael, right? Ishmael, he was trying to mekarev him to Torah, trying to do mitzvot. Once he saw that Ishmael, you know, his wife saw, right? Sarah Imenu. She saw that he was not a good boy. You know, doing avodah zarah, doing gilui arayot, all kinds of sins. You know, very heavy sins he was doing. Ishmael, you know. So once she saw that, she told Avraham Avinu, Garesh ben Amazot, to kick out this guy from the house. You know, we can't keep him anymore. We cannot mekarev him anymore. Why? Because he's too far gone. He's gone already. He's doing avodah zarah. He's doing gilui arayot. He's doing adultery. He's committing all kinds of sins. You know, so once a person goes that far, there's no way to mekarev him anymore. You got to get rid of him. That's the way it is. You know, so a person has to understand that, right? That not always the things are the same. If you're not really sure, you know, ask a rabbi, you know, who knows a little bit, understands, you know, and he'll tell you what you have to do with a person like this, you know. If he's too far gone, he's not too far gone. But the truth is, you know, that in general, you know what it means to be too far gone? That a person is either dangerous, you know, physically he can harm you, criminal, somebody who goes around with a knife or a gun, you know what I mean? Somebody that's, you don't want to mess with somebody, they can kill you. You know what I mean? Some person who's violent, he has a rap sheet, in the police department, this long, Yeah, but he's Georgian. What about so he's Georgian? What? So he's a killer. What? Makes him good. He's a good guy because he's Georgian? He's a criminal. What are you inviting this guy for to your house? He may kill you. What are you trying to do? You shouldn't think, by the way, that every Georgian is a good, person, or every Bukharian or every Persian. There are also criminals, in our communities. We have mafia people. We have people like this. So what are you doing? Inviting mafia people to your house? Gangsters? You cannot do that, right? So you got to know how far to go with these people like that, So HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us, that should be our goal, Also, another thing I want to tell you regarding this, which is a really nice words of Chazal. They say that this is exactly what happened in the Midbar. Bamidbar, when they were in the desert, what happened was that they had a degalim, they had formation over there, So what happened was that in the front was Shevet Yehuda. Yehuda was going first. Who was over there? Yehuda, Issachar, and Zebulun. These three tribes were in the front, going first. Why then? What's the reason why? Because they were the leaders of the Jewish people. They were the tough people. The strong people, strong in Torah, strong also physically. Warriors, people who knew how to fight for Torah, to fight for Hashem, physically and spiritually. This is what they were. This is why they were going first. They were the leaders. So what happened was that next to them, there was the Levim over there. So which led around the Mishkan, right? There was Levim also around the Mishkan. So who was with them over there in the front? Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen. Oh, what's better to be? That's why to be with neighbors like that, you can't lose, right? Moshe Rabbeinu was right with you over there, next across the street. He's right next to your house. You can go ask him a question, in halakha, or get some advice from him. Aaron HaKohen is over here. If you have problems with Shalom Bayit, you're not getting along with your wife, he'll help you, right? He'll come and make Shalom Bayit with your house. So everything you got good over now. Baruch Hashem, how can you lose? So that's what I say, that because of this, because these three tribes, Yehuda and Issachar and Zebulun, they were next to Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron. So what happened? They became all of them Talmidei Chachamim, Bnei Torah, learned it in Torah. Torah Nebi gachtem. Right? That's the thing, right? According to our culture, right? That's what happened. You know why that happened? Because they were in the proximity of Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen. So always when you're next to good people, it wears off on you. The smell of those good people. Also, you get the smell also.
Why, if it's like this, why you don't put the tribes that they are weak close to Moshe Rabbeinu to make them all strong?
Well,
those strong ones, they are already strong. What about those ones that they
what it is? When you have a leadership, Shalom, it's a good question what you're asking. When you have leadership, you need over there everybody who's a leader. These are leaders. The people who are driving the nation forward. So you cannot have weak people over there. We don't want anybody weak. Everybody has to be strong over there. Front line. This is the front line. Kava Maga. It's right. That's something else. So we want over there strong people. So this is what happened to all these tribes. So they say, right, that all these tribes, Yehuda and Issachar and Zebulun, they all became Talmidei Chachamim, big judges, Dayanim, Shoftim, all kinds of things like this. All the leaders came from there, most of the leaders. Why is that? Because they were next to Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, right? And his sons also, right? Elazar, Itamar, right? And all these people, big people, people who are giants in Torah. They became also big in Torah. And this lasted forever, by the way, you should know. Until this day, by the way, these tribes, who are Issachar and Zebulun and Yehuda, they're the ones who are leading the Jewish people. Until this day. That's the way it is. Who are these people? The Sephardim. What do you think? What? Right? We're talking about the Iraqi Jews and the Syrian Jews and the Moroccan Jews. Right? These are the ones who are the strongest in Torah in our people. They're the leaders. They're the ones who are always in the front. Whenever it comes to all kinds of things like this. Okay, we understand. You get the point. That's the way it is. That's what the Arizal says, by the way. The Arizal says that Degel Yehuda, Machane Yehuda, was the Sephardim. That's right. Yehuda, Issachar, and Zebulun, Sephardim. This is the Sephardim. Okay, good. So you get the idea.
The Binyamin was the Ashkenazi?
Right, so Binyamin is split, Binyamin, a little bit Ashkenazi, half of them, and half of them Sephardi. You know why? because Binyamin was together with Yehuda in the first Beit Harishon. They were together, So that's why a lot of the Sfarim are from Binyamin, from Shevet Binyamin. There's a book, by the way, called Mishpat HaKetubah, which is written by Dayan in Eretz Israel, who's like the son-in-law of the Rabbi Maran, Rabbi Yoshem. He's the son-in-law's son. Bar Shalom is his name, Bar Shalom. So he writes over there that the Georgian Jews are from Shevet Binyamin. A lot of them, most of them are from Shevet Binyamin. That's what he writes. So we're also from there. Yes, we have a tradition like that. We have Masoret. We have tradition that we come from Shevet Binyamin. The first ones that came from Eretz Israel to Georgia, they were from Binyamin, these people. Okay, whatever. It's a discussion. There's also other tribes. Not only Binyamin. But Ikar, the main is Binyamin. So then, right, what I want to tell you is that the Chazal say just the opposite, right? When it comes to what? There was also Reuven and Shimon and Gad, right? Over there, on the other Degel. So over there, who was over there? Right? There was Korach and Vedato, right? Korach. So he made a rebellion against Moshe Rabbeinu. So because they were with bad neighbors, they had Korach over there, on the other side, not in the front, right? So what happened was that side got messed up. What happened? The Korach instigated them to come with them with the rebellion. So, who was over there? Right? We have Datan and Aviram, who were from Shevet Reuven. They were from Reuven. So they went together. Why? Because they had neighbors. They were neighbors. You know what I mean? They were neighbors together. So what happened was that they all destroyed. They got killed. They all got destroyed. Why? Because they went to Rashaim, Over here you have Rasha, Korach, and you have these Rashaim, right? Datan and Aviram. They went together and they all got destroyed. They all got killed. So no came out of them. Torah, no Torah, death and destruction. That's what came out. Yeah? Yeah, before he sinned, he was maybe tzaddik, but after he sinned, obviously he was a rasha, right? He was a rasha. We call him rasha. We don't call him tzaddik. Right? If he was tzaddik, he wouldn't be swallowed in the ground to go Gainam. That's not tzaddik. That's the way it is. When you're born, everybody's tzaddik. But the question is, what are you going to do later, right? When you grow up, everybody's tzaddik in the beginning. Before you're bar mitzvah, everybody's a tzaddik. But the question is, what are you going to do afterwards? That's the question. You know what they say, right? When he's sleeping, he's a good boy. Yeah. When he's sleeping, you're a good boy. But what about when you wake up? That's the question.
Better boy.
Okay. So you get the idea, right? So what happened was that they all got destroyed. And so from here, the Chazal teach us that being with a bad neighbor is very bad, because what happens is that just like he went to destruction, they're all going to go to destruction. So stay away from a bad neighbor. That's what we're saying, right? Because the point is, they say, right, that there was one Ben Pelet, right, who was saved. He also was from Chloe, right? And his wife saved him. He had a good wife. You know the whole story, right? So what happened was that they tried to bring him also to the rebellion, but his wife saved him. She did something good. She had a valorous Eshet Chayal, who saved him from that by standing outside the tent, and not letting them to come inside. She pulled the trick on them, like this. So this is the way it is, that a person who has a good wife can be saved. But the truth is, even if you have a good wife, stay away from a bad neighbor anyway. Because they may get you. Maybe your wife is going to be in work, working. She's not going to be able to protect you. So who's going to protect you? What are you going to do, right? That's the way it is.
It says only Rasha or Lishma.
Right, so as we said, right, that that's the way the Chazal tell us, that you were influenced by your surroundings. So be careful where you live, That's why you should know, by the way, all the Gedolei Israel that I saw, all the big Chachamim of this generation, I saw them all. Rabbi Milubavitch, I saw him. Right? Chacham Ovadia Maran, I saw him. Rav Chaim Kanievsky, I saw him. I met him too. I met a lot of Gedolim. Baruch Hashem. I was Zocher to meet a lot of Gedolim. And I can tell you one thing about all of them. Same thing, You know what it is? They went here, they traveled, they went here to give shurim, they traveled here, they went here to do kiruv, But where they lived was always religious neighborhood, Haredi neighborhood. Always. All of them. They never lived in a place which is not religious. You know why? Because of this is what we're talking about here. Because they knew, this is the trick. The trick is that when you live in a place which is not religious, there's over there people who are they're not keeping Torah and mitzvot, it's going to have a bad influence on you. This is the reason why all the Gedolei Israel, every one of them, they lived in a religious neighborhood, always. They never moved out to some Chiloni, some secular neighborhoods. Never. unless they had a job there, to do a job, like they had to work there, something else. We're not talking about that, right? Yeah, sometimes you get a job, to be rabbi, in a certain place, you have to go there to be the rabbi. They're paying you for that. That's a different story, right? But you know what the Zohar is, we'll finish with this, right? I don't want to get to Arvit. It says in the Zohar Kadosh about this also, something very, very powerful. It says that a person who goes to live, somebody who's religious, the tzaddik, he goes to live in a neighborhood which is not religious. There's over there some sinners, people who are sinning, all kinds of things. Let's say you go to Manhattan, go over there. There's lots of sinners over there in Manhattan, right? There's no lack, right? Baruch Hashem, we have plenty of them over there. So what happens is you go to a place like that, sometimes what happens is that they can harm you. Not only because they give you bad influence, but what happens is that they judge you together with these people, because you live with them together in the same town. So what happens is that they punish you for their sins also. Can you imagine? Because they say about you, they say, like what, he doesn't rebuke them, he doesn't tell them anything. He just lets them live, he's very friendly with them. He doesn't tell them nothing about their sins. He doesn't care about them. So what they do is that they punish this person, the tzaddik, because of the sins of the Reshaim that are living around him. So it says in Kadosh, it's dangerous, to go to a place like that. Don't live in a place with Reshaim over there. Because if you do, you may get it also. What happens is that sometimes, a person gets sick, all kinds of diseases, he doesn't know why. He doesn't know why he got sick. It's because sometimes he's living in a bad place, that's why. Because he's living with Reshaim, with sinners, and he's being judged because of that. He doesn't realize. So a person has to open up his mind, and see. That's why, Baruch Hashem, the truth is that you see a lot of my friends over here, they're telling me, yeah, I'm moving to Main Street, better over there. It's true, it's better over there. They're moving to Main Street, they're moving to more religious areas. And they're going to Eretz Israel, that's also great, that's the best, nothing better than that. Nothing like Eretz Israel, right? So a person should always try to go to a place where it's religious there. And he's going to have good good tidings, good mazal over there also. Also, if you want to change your mazal, you should change your place, If your mazal is not doing so good, try to change your place. Go live somewhere else. Go live in a religious neighborhood, in a blessed neighborhood. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen, amen. Rabbi Hananiah Baruch Hashem, Melech HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tzitzel, Rabbi Chach Libar Lahem Tzorah Tzorah Shabbat Chafes, למען צדקו יגדיר תורה וידיר. Amen.